All right, thank you guys. Happy Monday to you. Hopefully you had a great weekend and welcome to college football week 13. And this is our Big Ten Conference edition. We got ourselves a handful of games on the slate here beginning on Friday in the Big Ten. So let's go ahead and dive into them. We got the game queued up, ready to go. Let's go ahead and take a look at Nebraska versus Iowa. And that's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern start time on Black Friday. Iowa's minus 13 at home, totals 51.5. We're 4-1 in our last 5 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And access to the Underdog tier membership costs just $4.99. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it in just a few moments, so just hang tight and bear with me here. We're also 2-1 in our last 3 NFL tier membership plays on that Patreon site as well. We have over 750 members signed up and active on that site. So if you're curious about it, you're not alone. A lot of people on the site, a lot of people signed up. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, Iowa's on a 3-game winning streak, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 outings. The Hawkeyes are scoring 35 points a game at home, and they're rushing for over $180 per contest. Now, Tyler Goodson's rushed for over 450 yards this season, along with 6 touchdowns on the ground. The sophomore running back is averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. Mekhi Sargent is also averaging 6.4 yards per carry out of this Hawkeye backfield. 6 rushing touchdowns for Sargent as well. This Iowa defense is also giving up just 14 points per contest at Kinnick Stadium and less than 3.8 yards per play defensively. Now, defensive back Jack Kerner has a trio of interceptions out of this Hawkeye secondary. 30 total tackles for Kerner. Linebacker Nick Neiman also has 49 total tackles on the season. He is the team leader in that category. And defensive tackle Davion Nixon has 4 sacks, a forced fumble, a pick 6, and 28 tackles from the defensive line. That pick 6 was awesome, where he kind of put the ball up and he did like a ball fake while he was running down the field. But anyway, I was coming fresh off a 41-21 beatdown of Penn State. They've outscored their opponents 125-35 in their last 3 ball games. They're taking on a Nebraska program who just lost 41-23 to Illinois this past week. Nebraska is just 1-3 straight up on the season, and they failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of those 4 contests. Now, the Cornhuskers are scoring 15 points a game on the road, and they're throwing for less than 180 yards per contest. Luke McCaffrey's thrown 5 interceptions and just 1 touchdown so far in the season. The Cornhuskers' leading receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, is averaging just 38 receiving yards per contest and has yet to score a touchdown. Meanwhile, this Nebraska defense is also allowing 37 points a game away from home and over 180 yards rushing in that category. The Cornhuskers are averaging just 1.8 sacks per contest. Now, total-wise, Nebraska saw their most recent ball game with Illinois get over the posted number. Meanwhile, 2 out of Iowa's last 3 contests got over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Iowa Hawkeyes minus 13 and the over 51.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick time out and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for college football week 13. And of course, this is our Big Ten edition. But before we dive into some more free content right here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are 4-1 in our last 5 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to get access to today's Underdog, we actually have an Underdog tier package play going off today here on Monday. So if you want to access today's Underdog tier package pick, it's only going to cost you just $4.99. We also went 2-1 in our last 3 NFL tier package picks on that side as well. Now, you might be wondering, why would I sign up for picks on Patreon? Reckon get them right here for free on YouTube. And that's certainly a great thought, a great consideration. Heck, I would probably think that myself. But just hear me out. If you were to go out there and bet every single game that's on the board that I give you on these free videos, side and total, like I do with my breakdowns here on YouTube. It's certainly not a winning formula for success. You can't bet every game. And as a matter of fact, that would be a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp with the numbers. The odds become massively more against you the more bets you take, if you bet the whole slate. To be honest, the bookies have just so much more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that type of action betting every game. So what I do on Patreon is I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, I'm having a lot more success betting on games that way in smaller sample sizes versus wagering on every single game on the slate, side and total. Now, we currently have over 750 members sign up on that site. So you're not alone. If you're curious, if you want to sign up, even if you just want to do the $1.99 membership, you're not alone. There's a lot of people on that site. A lot of people enjoy it. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, I'd love to have you. I think I highly recommend it. And link for that site is in the description section below. Not too proud to beg. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at our Saturday slate. And we're going to start off with Maryland, Indiana. And that's going to be a 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Indiana's minus 14 at home, total 61.5. The Hoosiers are 2-0 against the spread at home and a perfect 5-0 against the number overall for the season. They're scoring 37 points a game at Memorial Stadium, and they're throwing for over 310 yards per contest. Quarterback Michael Penix has thrown for well over 1,500 yards on the season already, with 14 touchdowns through the air. Penix has also run it in twice on the ground as well. His favorite receiver has been wideout Ty Freifogel, who has 31 grabs for 642 yards and 7 touchdowns. And just to kind of break it down for you, Freifogel is averaging 21 yards a catch and 128 receiving yards per contest. So this guy is definitely an impact player. Running back Stevie Scott III has also rushed for 325 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground as well. They're taking on a Maryland team who gives up 35 points a game and over 225 yards a game on the ground. Now, this Maryland defense has just 2 interceptions on the season. And when it comes to the total on this one, Maryland saw their second ball game of the season fly nearly 30 points above the posted number for that game. Meanwhile, the Hoosiers on the other side are 2-0 to the over at home this season, 4-1 to the over for the entire year. Give me the Indiana Hoosiers minus 14 and the over 61.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Ohio State versus Illinois, 12 p.m. East. The Buckeyes are minus 28 on the road, totals 70.5. The Buckeyes have failed to cover the number in their last 2 straight, just 3-6 against the spread in their last 9, dating back to last season. So the more games they keep winning, the higher that number keeps getting. Tough for them to cover those big numbers. Now, this OSU defense is allowing 26 points per contest and nearly 300 yards a game passing. They're taking on an Illinois ball club who's on a 2-game winning streak themselves, while also covering in 3 out of their last 4 games as well. Illinois is rushing for 223 yards a game on the ground. Running back Chase Brown, he's got 357 rushing yards on the season, along with a couple of scores. Brown is averaging 5.9 yards per carry. Meanwhile, running back Mike Epstein is also averaging 6.1 yards per rush himself, and he's got 4 TDs on the ground as well. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Illinois' last 4 ball games stayed under the posted number. They're 2-0 to the under at home. Meanwhile, 2 out of Ohio State's last 4 ball games stayed under the line themselves. They're officially 1-0 to the under on the road. I'm going to lean toward an underdog in this one. Ohio State's going to win it. Illinois will keep it at least within 28. Give me the Illinois Fighting Illini plus 28 and the under 70.5 in that game. Next matchup, Penn State, Michigan, 12 p.m. Eastern start time in Ann Arbor. This game really doesn't have the feel it normally does. But anyway, the Michigan Wolverines are minus 2 at the Big House. Totals 59.5. The Wolverines are coming off an overtime victory on the road at Rutgers. 48 total points they put up in extra frames. Now, this Michigan offense is scoring 31 points a game and throwing for nearly 280. Ronnie Bell has 22 grabs for 361 and a touchdown. Bell is averaging nearly 17 yards per reception. And wideout Cornelius Johnson, the corn dog, he's averaging 17 yards per reception himself, along with 3 receiving touchdowns. They're taking on a winless Penn State program who's opened up their 2020 campaign with 5 straight losses. The Nittany Lions have also failed to cover the number in all 5 of those outings. Now, Penn State's giving up 36 points a game and nearly 140 yards on the ground. The Nittany Lions secondary has just 1 interception on the season. Their only other interception on the year came from linebacker Brandon Smith. Now, Penn State has failed to cover the point spread in 8 out of their last 9 conference ball games, of course, dating back to last season. They've also dropped 8 out of their last 9 ball games in the Big House. Now, total-wise, Penn State's 3-2 to the over thus far in the season, 7-3 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Michigan. Meanwhile, the Wolverines, on the other side of things, are currently 80% to the over through 5 games in 2020. Give me the Michigan Wolverines -2 and the over 59.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup I have for you, it's going to be a 2 o'clock ball game. So let me just buy some time here. And it is going to be Minnesota-Wisconsin. 2 p.m. Eastern start time at Camp Randall Stadium. Now, Wisconsin's the 21-point favorite in this matchup here. Totals 54.5. And despite a tough loss this past week to a very good Northwestern program, an unbeaten Northwestern program, the Badgers are still rushing for 220 a game, and they scored 94 total points in their prior 2 victories. I'm looking for a real big bounce back spot here. Jalen Berger has rushed for 180 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Berger's averaging 6 yards a carry, and Nakia Watson is also averaging 4 yards a carry out of this Badger backfield. A couple of rushing TDs for Watson as well. Now, they're taking on a Minnesota program who does nothing but give up points. They're giving up 35 points a game and over 215 yards a game on the ground. Now, the Gophers have gotten to the quarterback just 6 times through 5 contests. They've also got just 4 takeaways on the season as well. So really not all that opportunistic are these Minnesota Golden Gophers, at least on the defensive side. Minnesota's given up 31 points or more in 4 out of their 5 contests on the year. Meanwhile, offensively, can't say nothing bad about this guy, Mo Ibrahim, but their standout running back is questionable for Saturday. He's banged up, so we might not even see Ibrahim in the game this week. This Minnesota offense is also throwing for less than 210 yards per contest. Tanner Morgan, I don't know what happened to him. He's completing just 59% of his passes, and he's only thrown 4 touchdowns all season. Now, Minnesota's lost 9 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Wisconsin. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Golden Gophers are 60% to the over for the season. No surprise there because they've been giving up so many points. Meanwhile, Wisconsin saw 2 out of their last 3 ball games get over the line themselves. Once again, bounce back spot here. I like them. I'm going to lean Wisconsin Badgers -21 and the over 54.5 in that ball game. Next matchup, Northwestern versus Michigan State, 3:30 p.m. in East Lansing. The Wildcats of Northwestern, what are we doing? We're blinking back here on the big screen. Anyway, the Wildcats of Northwestern are -13 on the road. Total's 41.5. Northwestern's coming fresh off a stunning double-digit victory over Wisconsin. They held the Badgers to just 7 total points in that contest. That's a program-changing win there. This Northwestern defense is giving up just a dozen points a game, and they're holding their opponents to less than 40 yards rushing per contest on the road. Blake Gallagher has 48 total tackles for the Wildcats, 2 sacks, 2 BBUs, an interception, and a fumble recovery for the linebacker. Defensive back Brandon Joseph is leading the Big Ten in interceptions with 5 of them. Joseph also has 28 tackles from the secondary. And defensive lineman Aku Leota has 4 sacks on the year, 1 forced fumble, and 9 tackles for the sophomore. Northwestern's holding their opponents to less than 3.94 yards per play on the road this season. They're taking on a Michigan State program who's on a 2-game losing streak themselves, and they scored just 7 total combined points in those 2 ball games. Now, Sparty's scoring just 13 points a game at home, and they're rushing for just 55 yards a game at Spartan Stadium. Going to be hard for them to move the ball on the ground, especially against this Northwestern defense. Now, Sparty's leading rusher, Jordan Simmons, He's averaging just 36 yards per contest and has yet to score a touchdown on the ground. Meanwhile, quarterback Rocky Lombardi has thrown just 6 touchdowns through 5 games, along with 7 interceptions. Now, this Michigan State defense is also giving up 34 points per contest and nearly 500 yards per game from scrimmage. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Sparty's last 4 ball games got over the posted number. Meanwhile, 6 out of Northwestern's last 10 head-to-head meetings with the Spartans got over the line as well. Give me the Northwestern Wildcats minus 13 and the over 41.5 in that matchup. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final contest for the show. It is going to be Rutgers versus Purdue, 4 p.m. Eastern start time at Ross-Ade Stadium. The Purdue Boilermakers are minus 12 at home, totals 58.5. Purdue's currently on a 2-game losing streak. 2-game losing streak? Yeah, Purdue's on a 2-game losing streak. They lost their last 2 straight. They're 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 as well. The Boilermakers are scoring just 22 points per contest at home, and they're rushing for less than 55 yards per contest in that same category. Now, Purdue has just 2 rushing touchdowns through 4 ball games. Meanwhile, defensively, Purdue's allowing 26 points per contest and nearly 150 yards a game on the ground. Now, this Boilermaker pass rush has gotten a quarterback only 3 times all season. Meanwhile, the Scarlet Knights on the other side, they've successfully covered the number in 2 out of their last 3 themselves. They're 2-0 against the spread on the road this season. The Scarlet Knights are scoring 33 points a game when traveling. Now, Bo Melton has 27 catches for 443 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Scarlet Knights. Melton is averaging nearly 17 yards per reception. He's having one heck of a start to his 2020 season. Now, total-wise, Rutgers is 2-0 to the over away from home, 4-1 to the over for the season. Meanwhile, Purdue saw their most recent outing this past weekend get over the posted number themselves. Hell, we'll go ahead and finish up the show with an underdog. Give me the underdog Rutgers Scarlet Knights plus 12, keeping this one close. Might not win it, but I think they'll cover the 12 and the over 58.5 in that game. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.